The grand ballroom shimmered with golden lights, crystal chandeliers, and the quiet hum of wealth. Guests in designer suits and silk gowns whispered behind polished smiles, sipping champagne that cost more than most people's monthly salaries. At the center stood Daniel Hargrove, a man who built his reputation on control and dominance. Today was supposed to be his perfect day, his wedding day. Everything had been carefully curated to reflect power, prestige, and success. But beneath the surface of luxury, a single moment was about to unravel everything he had built. Emily stood near the altar, her white dress flowing like a soft cloud around her. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear of marriage, but from something deeper. She scanned the room, searching for one face, her father. He had promised he would come, even if he had to travel miles on foot. To Emily, he wasn't just a parent, he was her entire world, a man who sacrificed everything for her education, her dreams, her future. She smiled faintly, holding on to hope, unaware that the next few minutes would change everything forever. At the entrance of the ballroom, a quiet figure appeared. His suit was old, slightly worn at the edges, and his shoes had clearly seen better days. But his posture was proud, and his eyes held warmth. It was Mr. Hassan, Emily's father. He paused at the door, taking in the luxurious setting, clearly out of place among the elite guests. Still, he stepped forward with dignity. He wasn't here for them. He was here for his daughter, the only person who mattered to him. As Mr. Hassan walked further inside, whispers began to ripple across the room. Guests exchanged glances, their judgment sharp and immediate. Some covered their smirks with champagne glasses, others openly stared. The contrast between wealth and simplicity had never been more obvious. Daniel noticed the disturbance almost instantly. His eyes narrowed as he followed the direction of the whispers. The moment he saw the old man approaching, his expression hardened. This was not part of the plan, not today, not in front of everyone who mattered. Daniel stepped forward, intercepting Mr. Hassan halfway down the aisle. The music faltered slightly as tension filled the air. "Excuse me," Daniel said, his voice cold and controlled. "This is a private event." Mr. Hassan blinked, confused but calm. "I'm here for my daughter," he replied softly. Daniel's lips tightened. "I don't think so. This wedding is for invited guests only." His words sharp, cutting through the room like a blade. The guests watched closely, sensing something dramatic unfolding. Emily saw them. Her heart dropped instantly. She began to move forward, but Daniel raised a hand subtly, signaling her to stay. "You didn't tell me he'd show up like this," Daniel muttered under his breath. Mr. Hassan stood quietly, absorbing the hostility. "I didn't come to cause trouble," he said gently. "I just want to see my daughter get married." But Daniel wasn't listening. To him, appearances were everything, and this man, this poor, unrefined presence, was ruining the image he had worked so hard to maintain. "Security," Daniel called, his voice firm. Two guards approached quickly, their expressions neutral but alert. Emily's breath caught in her throat. "Daniel, please," she began, but he cut her off with a glance. "This is not the place for this." The guards hesitated for a moment, looking at Mr. Hassan, who stood calmly, offering no resistance. There was no anger in his eyes, only a quiet sadness, the kind of sadness that comes from understanding exactly what's happening and knowing you can't stop it. "I'm her father," Mr. Hassan said again, this time a little louder. The room fell silent. For a brief moment, even Daniel seemed uncertain. But then the weight of pride crushed any hesitation. "That doesn't matter here," Daniel replied. "You're not dressed appropriately, and you're not part of this circle." The words landed heavily. Emily felt them like a physical blow. Her father didn't argue. He simply nodded, as if he had expected this outcome all along. As the guards gently took hold of Mr. Hassan's arms, Emily finally broke free from her frozen state. "Stop!" she cried, her voice echoing across the hall. All eyes turned toward her. Tears filled her eyes as she ran forward. "He's my father. He belongs here more than anyone." Her voice trembled, but her words were strong. Daniel's jaw clenched. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. This moment was slipping out of his control. But Daniel wasn't a man who let go of control easily. "Emily, think about what you're doing," he said quietly, stepping closer. "Look around you. These are important people." Emily looked around, and for the first time she saw them clearly. Not as guests, but as strangers. Cold, distant, judgmental. Then she looked at her father, tired, humble, and full of love. The choice should have been simple, but fear held her in place. Mr. Hassan smiled gently at his daughter. "It's okay," he said softly. "This is your day. Don't ruin it because of me." His voice carried no bitterness, only love. That made it worse. Emily shook her head, tears falling freely now. "No, Baba," she whispered. But the guards were already guiding him toward the exit. Each step felt heavier than the last, and with every step, something inside Emily began to break. As the doors closed behind her father, the music resumed awkwardly. Guests tried to return to their conversations, but the atmosphere had shifted. Daniel exhaled slowly, regaining composure. "Let's continue," he announced, but the magic was gone. The perfection he had planned so carefully had cracked, and deep down, even he knew it. Outside, Mr. Hassan paused on the steps. He looked back at the grand building, his eyes reflecting both pride and sorrow. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an old phone. With steady hands, he dialed a number. "It's done," he said calmly. "Proceed as discussed." His tone had changed completely. There was no sadness now, only quiet authority. Back inside, the ceremony continued. Vows were exchanged, rings were placed, and applause filled the room. To everyone else, it looked like a perfect wedding, but Emily's smile was hollow. Her eyes kept drifting toward the door, as if expecting her father to walk back in. He never did. Hours later, as the reception reached its peak, Daniel's phone buzzed. He ignored it at first. Then it buzzed again, and again. Annoyed, he stepped aside to check. His expression shifted instantly. Confusion, then concern, then something darker. "What?" he muttered under his breath. He read the message again, as if hoping it would change. It didn't. His company's primary line of credit, frozen. All accounts under review. Immediate halt on transactions. It didn't make sense. This couldn't happen. Not today. He quickly dialed his financial advisor. "Fix this," he demanded. But the response on the other end only made things worse. "Sir, this order came directly from the top." Daniel's grip tightened on the phone. "What top?" he snapped. "The bank's primary owner," the voice replied. "We've never seen intervention like this before." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. "Who owns the bank?" he asked slowly. There was a pause. Then the name came. Mr. Hassan. The world seemed to stop. Daniel's mind raced, trying to process what he had just heard. The poor, humble man he had just thrown out owned the bank that controlled his company's entire financial structure.